Triple Shot Mindset. We are Triple Shot Mindset, featuring our amazing guest, Shayla Chapman.
Hello. Oh, so generous. Thank you.
Shayla is a therapist who specializes in
Trauma, couples work, grief, and loss.
Wow.
I have a practice in Newport Beach, which I love, and see individuals and couples.
Is it on Dove Street or
It is.
Quail? Oh,
It's on Dove Street. We call Dove Street Shrink Row.
right.
Here
Yes,
in California.
That's right. We did.
In Orange County, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And what got you into this profession?
What got me into this profession? My first experience with my own therapist was when I was an undergrad in college, and was really struggling during that time. I was a student athlete and struggled with a lot of depression and anxiety and, an inner critic and really hard on myself. So I started seeing a therapist at the student center, the student health center. I didn't know if they even offered it, but checked it out. And during those 4 years of my undergrad, I think for any undergrad, it's just like a crazy time of their life. They're being asked, like, what are you going to do for the rest of your life? You're like 18, 19, I don't know. And just there's a lot of, things you don't know about life yet. And it's overwhelming on top of like managing school schedule and classes and grades and making friends and living away from home for the first time. So that just felt like it was amazing time in my life, but also there was a lot of my first time experience for me with a lot of like feelings of hopelessness and just being lost in the world and without really being prepared, like feeling confident and prepared. And when I saw the psychotherapist there, I ended up thinking I was just going to go maybe for a few sessions, get some good advice. And it ended up being really life-changing. And I ended up seeing that therapist weekly, sometimes every couple weeks, eventually less frequently, but throughout my whole undergrad experience. And it made all the difference. And so I really went away from that experience being like, wow, if that's a job where you can make that much of an impact in someone's life when they need it the most and just be a part of that journey, sign me up.
May I ask, what was it that made it so life-changing?
Yeah, great question. The fact that I had someone there, it felt very safe to be able to explore some of these experiences I was having, where you could talk to friends about things you were bummed out about if it was a breakup or something. But really, I didn't understand what was kind of going on internally. And so part of it was just the education initially, that like, oh, the therapist would explain like what depression is. Like, oh, you're clinically depressed, or this is called like generalized anxiety disorder. So really part of that understanding, that knowledge piece, helped me not think I was just like this weird, crazy person, and helped normalize the experience. And like, oh, actually a lot of college students go through this, and especially student athletes. Did you know they're among the highest who are perfectionistic and have certain traits and qualities that make them more prone to develop like an anxiety disorder or body image and eating disorders. So part of it was just the safety of going there. Part of it was the knowledge. And part of it was just the relational experience of having someone who was older than me. She was a woman. She was, I'm sure, like maybe 30s, 40s, but I kind of was able to see her as like a mentor in some ways. Like, okay, she went through this time in her life too. I can't be the only one. Like, there will be a light at the end of the tunnel. And I really liked, and I've always been drawn to people who maybe know more about something than I do or have wisdom to share. Something about that feels very, it just feels very good to be around that.
Absolutely. It's grounding.
It's grounding. Yeah. And she just really helped me get to know myself.
I love that.
Yeah.
We've experienced in our gang family and friends who have an enormous stigma against therapy.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
they don't understand what you said about the education piece there being invaluable. Once you begin to understand your body and your mind as systems that can actually be understood, hacked even in a positive way, they're scientific, they're objective,
Yes.
and they're communal. Once you get into that realm, it's a lot different than just talking to a friend and saying like, I'm bummed out or I'm upset.
Very different.
And we're always trying to tell our friends and family like, hey, maybe consider therapy because it's different than you think.
Mm-hmm.
But that distinction, like, I'm curious, before you even went seeking out therapy, did you know what it was going to offer you? Or you're just like, I just need help?
Yeah, that's another good question. I don't think I knew exactly what it was going to offer. I think I had preconceived notions about what it was going to be, because, you know, even that, I'm trying to think that, you know, that was more than 15 years ago. But even then, like, people weren't talking about mental health as much as they are now.
For sure.
So, like, as much as I make fun of, like, Gen Z, one thing I give them credit for is they've really, really helped destigmatize mental health and normalize talking about it. But no, I don't think I knew exactly what it was. I knew that, generally speaking, I think it was going to be a place where I would feel hopefully safe and where I just needed to kind of talk through things. That was like a basic fundamental. I'm like, I just need someone to hear me talk and tell me I'm not crazy. Yeah. You know, but it ended up being so much more than that.
Do you think it's an advantage? Let's say I have masculine, you know, traits, let's say. Would it help if I went to a male therapist or a female therapist? Because I know people, a lot of people I know a lot of people who, they say, I just want to go to a female.
Yes.
I just want to go to a male. And sometimes I ask them afterwards, how was it? Like, oh, it was great. It was like two girlfriends talking. And she got me and I got her and we were going to go have coffee next week. And I said, did you guys do any therapy? Or was it like a, you know, session talking about boy problems? And so I always try to find a therapist, if I'm going to go see one, that has ideas different than me, so that I can explore that side of me that's been dormant. What do you think of that? Is that even a thing? Even for Persian people, they're like, I'm going to go find a Persian person.
Yeah, right.
Because I want to just...
They need to
understand.
If I don't see a Persian therapist, they won't understand.
Right.
That's such an important question. I love that we're talking about this, actually. The answer is, it kind of depends on what you're going for. And the way, like, my theoretical orientation is, I really emphasize like childhood upbringing and early attachments to our caregivers. For example, if you had a great relationship with your father growing up, emotionally connected, healthy attachment, everything, generally speaking, normal, good attachment, all of that. And then in your adult life, you find yourself becoming, you know, needing therapy because you lost your job or something. In that case, it depends. Like, it may not be that important whether it's a male or female, but it's different. Let's say you grew up with a father you didn't have a great relationship with, and you fast forward to adulthood now, or looking for a therapist because you lost your job, and maybe it triggers feelings of inadequacy, and maybe you didn't have that relationship with your dad where he instilled, like, you can get through this, you're good enough, even if, you know, you want a career change or something like that. It really depends. So there's a lot of reparative work we can do when you see a therapist with the gender that you think you may not want. If someone's like, I only want to see a female therapist, I get curious about that, and I ask them why. You know, like, what about that do you think? What do you think seeing a female therapist would give you that like seeing a male wouldn't? And they would be like, maybe they say, I just couldn't get comfortable. I couldn't speak to a male about my problems. In that context, as a therapist, why is that? Why do you think that is? Were you able to speak to your father about these things growing up? Is there something that's happened in your past, especially as a trauma therapist, where maybe there's trauma with someone of the opposite gender, or no, they were, you know, exploited or raped by a man?
Right.
Like, to some degree, I can totally understand that. And if you make some progress with a female therapist, actually, that's fantastic. But eventually, it can be really reparative to go see a male therapist and have that experience of, like, I can be vulnerable, I can open up, and I won't be taken advantage of, and it's safe. Not all men are bad. So that's my answer.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
I honestly encourage people. I'm like, they're like, oh, you're the 5th female therapist I've seen. I'm like, I'm so happy to be working with you. I'm curious. Like, I'd love for you to see a male therapist in the future.
Yeah.
I think everyone should have experience with both.
Yeah. I think when I was going through my divorce, a side of me didn't want to go to a female therapist. Because I knew maybe she would side with her. But then I realized it's not about siding. It's about just, you know, figuring out a way to coexist and put your traumas and issues behind you. And but a lot of people I know, even if it's a man or a male friend, I say, hey, go see a psychologist or a psychotherapist, they always say, why would I want to go see a woman who's going to probably defend her and I'm going to be unheard? So for me, it was, I had to listen to a female from just a standpoint of, I'm here to fix something versus I'm going to be protected or someone has to get my back. But a lot of people go there to hear someone just say, you're right, honey, you know, it was all his fault.
Yes.
Yeah.
They do.
And I realized a lot of people are like that. Even though they say we want to go see a therapist, they just want to go see a best friend and talk about how crappy of a life they have, and someone to just validate them and say, you're right, honey, you're right, it was his fault.
And a good therapist will call you out on that gently and lovingly. A good therapist will be direct with you and say, hey, you know, I've noticed you seem to respond a lot better to me when I agree with you or validate you. But anytime I kind of challenge you or push you a little bit to move outside your perspective, I can sense you resist it. What's going on there? Like a good therapist will say that. Yeah. Like you can tolerate when I agree with you, but there's a real intolerance for when I push you. Does that come up in other areas of your lives? And that's, you know, if you're in therapy and you find that you feel your therapist is always siding with you, that's a little bit, I wouldn't say a red flag. I would say maybe it's just that there's limits. I think the limit of your healing, it limits the level of healing that can be done if you're not really being pushed to do that.
Have you come across those people in your practice where they're looking for a best friend than a therapist?
You mean as have clients come in like that?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I find that a lot more with teens that I work with. And that's different. Like really in that setting, they do in that time of their life need someone to be there with them and really, really validate them and let them know they're not alone. Yeah. And I do kind of still push my teen clients too also. So I definitely have. Not as, I see it mostly with couples. Not as much with individuals, I would say, because but with couples, I do tend to get one of the two people is definitely, I can pick up on it very quickly. Yeah. Wanting you to agree with them.
Side with them,
like partner up with them, align with them, tell, see, can't you see how my husband's like this? Or can't you see how my wife constantly nags? And it's like looking for that. Yeah. And so the challenge and the fun part for me is really like staying out, like, you guys are in the boxing ring. My job is to like I'm outside of it. Yeah. I'm helping you guys navigate this, but I'm not getting in the middle and duking it out with you guys. I'm not taking sides.
Yeah. When I used to be on the dating sites, right?
Why do you point to her?
Because she was on dating sites too.
Okay.
That's how my husband and I met.
Oh, really? Which one?
An old school one, OK Cupid.
Oh, I remember.
Back before dating sites are like they are now, I guess. I don't know.
I met my wife I met Golnaz on AOL chat.
You did?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
I met my ex-wife as my chiropractor.
Ah, okay.
And I'm like, okay, she's a chiropractor. I need a lot of help. Might as well just put a ring on it and just get adjustments.
Go to the source.
Get some free help. Yeah.
Nice.
But why do you think, because when I go on dating apps, a lot of people are talking about their mental health. Whereas I think maybe 10 years ago, that wasn't a thing. Uh-huh. And so if a woman says, for example, I'm looking for a man who is this and that and takes his mental health seriously, or sees a therapist twice a week, and that's the keeper, and I think to myself, is it more okay to see a therapist nowadays? That's why people are bringing it up? Or is it something from a bigger societal standpoint that is pushing people to go seek help? Mm-hmm. Because with the Facebook generation, Instagram generation, a lot of people feel, oh my God, I need to live up to that standard of these filters or whatever. Mm-hmm. So do you think it has something to do with that? Or is it more of it's okay to have or air out your grievances like that?
I think it's a lot of things. I think there's been a major like social shift and in accepting that therapy isn't just for necessarily, you don't have to be having panic attacks. to go to a therapist. I think part of that's this generation, what they've, like the narrative that they're bringing is like going to a therapist can help you in so many different ways. You don't have to be broken in order to start seeing someone to help you understand or look at different parts of yourself. And I also think that it's discussed more. It's discussed more and through the generations, but society, I think different parts of the country probably have different views on it and different perceptions of what it is. Yeah. And I think it's kind of been this ripple effect as people have gone to therapy more over the past like maybe 20 years or so. They're actually using their experience as knowledge to inform them of like what it is, what it can do, when it can be helpful, and how you don't need to just be diagnosed with something in order to go. So I think it's kind of multiple factors.
Because when I was growing up, you were either shy or outgoing. You were either into yourself or whatever, and we didn't label anything.
Yes.
And so
now we label everything.
Now everything has to be labeled.
I don't love that. Yes,
yeah, so I think it creates a little bit of a because when I was dating people, still am, but when I date people, I talk to them about certain things. They're like, oh, by the way, I'm a this, I'm a da-da-da, I have narcissistic tendencies. I'm like, oh, thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like certain things have to be just left to the imagination or to the experience of living life with someone and understanding that is their quirkiness, not necessarily a bad thing. But nowadays, when I go out with people or even friends or watching Instagram or whatever, they label themselves different things. And then they carry that label as either a badge of honor or an excuse throughout their life.
May I think a thought
Yes,
out loud?
please.
I think we're also seeing a societal counter-correction. Because in my parents' era, and my parents are boomers, it was all about no labels, ambiguity. You don't talk about that stuff because you don't want to make it real. And seeing a shrink is a red flag.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing a counter-correction where the pendulum has swung, and seeing a shrink is a green flag. So people put that on their dating profiles because they believe that if you are self-aware enough to go see a shrink, then you have beaten the patterns of your predecessors, which makes you a green flag, not a red flag.
Right.
So even though I think there's a lot of room for fallibility in that, because the labels become an identity that just traps you into new patterns, there's also a level of empowerment of making what was once ambiguous now definable and therefore controllable, which gives people this empowerment feeling. So I think we're just seeing the natural course correction of social expansion.
I agree. I realize I didn't even hardly answer your question, but in that sense, when you see it on dating apps, I do think that it's more about, is this person that I'm potentially going to invest time and emotion and all my life into, are they aware? Are they interested in exploring parts of themselves? Are they someone who potentially has a growth mindset, is open to change, is open to evolve? I think that's kind of what people might be looking for when they say on maybe the apps like, oh, are you
in therapy?
In therapy, or do you have a therapist? Or have you noticed with shows, I feel like every popular show now or in the past few years has had one of the main characters be a therapist.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I love that. I think that's so fun.
Yeah.
We still have a long way to go in terms of it being an accurate representation of what therapy is like. But
I think my first show that I saw that on was Frasier. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw
Frasier. And remember Sopranos?
Yes.
Dr. Melfi? That was like, I think one of the first ones. But I remember Frasier too, where he was in the studio, who's like a psychiatrist shrink or something.
Yeah.
Where he talked to people.
I think both the brothers
He had a radio show.
Yeah.
And people would call in
Yeah.
and give them advice.
Yeah.
So Artie, question for you.
For me.
When you're on the dating apps, or formerly were, would you perceive it as a green flag if someone's asking that question?
I like moderation, right? And
What?
moderation. Come on. I love moderation.
Balance?
Fair and balanced. I'm a fair and balanced person, right?
Absolutely.
I'm the most fair and balanced person I know. Or everyone knows, for that
that's-
matter.
yeah, well,
People call from China and they
All
say
right.
he's the most fairest person.
so you
I
like
know.
moderation in the people you're partnering with?
So if I'm dating someone, or I'm being friends with someone, and they're leaning too much one way or the other, it makes me feel
You don't like it.
I don't like it. Because I'm from a generation that, yes, I don't want to label myself as such because then I'm going to have to live up to that. But on the other hand, I also want to get help for if it's a, issue that I have to get to the bottom of. So if someone keeps saying, how many times have you gone to therapy this week? I'm like, okay, honey, like just let's keep that private.
Interesting.
Like how many times do you do laundry? Let me know how many times you do laundry because I want to know that you're a clean person. Okay, yes, I do seek therapists every once in a while if I have to. I'm aware about certain things. I read books. I listen to podcasts. But that should be the extent of it, at least for me. There's people who have asked me, okay, who's your therapist? How often do you go? And they're trying to just figure out if I'm the right person for them. Whereas I think certain things should be private to an extent, at least in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's all right. I feel like it's become an advertising thing, like in marketing. Like, look at me, I go to therapy, therefore that makes me the right fit for you.
And what if they go to therapy but they don't follow through on any of the advice that are dished out to them?
You'll learn that real quick if you
Right.
start dating someone like
Right.
that. And you'll know,
Yeah.
even though that was so important to them that you were doing that in the beginning, you'll figure out if they're actually the real deal and implementing what, growth or the changes that they're wanting to make. I think that's so much more about what you see and how you behave than what you say you do.
Yeah.
But you'll learn quick, I'm sure.
Yeah. I have friends or people who have dated that go to their house and they have a bookshelf full of books,
Self-help books.
This, that, Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, I'm like, great, but how come you're still broken, right? And then I read 2 pages of a book and I'm like, I got it. And I tell myself I have to stick with this. I have to be aware of these thoughts that come into my... So 2 pages for me does it, but some people have 50 pages on the bookshelf and they have no clue what they're doing in life. So I think it's not maybe it is a frequency for some people going through certain traumas. But I think following up and being aware of what was told to them and how
Like
they feel about-
implementing
implementing
what they're
it,
learning
For sure.
Yeah.
in their life.
So to me, it's
Which was one of my questions. They come to you, they spend an hour with you, and they
55
leave.
minutes, 55 minutes.
55
Or
minutes.
50.
50.
50.
Wow.
Sorry about that.
Between 50 and 54.3 seconds. No, just kidding.
Sure. Okay, so let's say 50. They come to you. What's your expectation of them the next time? Like, do they work on things, or do they just come back where they left off and they count on you 100% to do all the work?
That's a hard question, but I think I can answer it to some degree. I really only expect them to show up fully in their session. On a basic level, I expect them, to be present with themselves, to obviously not take phone calls, to notice if they get distracted. Basic, right? But it also depends on what they came in for. So, and what their goals are, and us working together in alignment on that, continually having these conversations of like, oh, okay, some people are very solution focused, right? They come in, they're like, I want to see you maybe 10 times, and by the end, I want to do X, Y, and Z and feel X, Y, and Z. And sometimes it's that simple, and we can do that. Are we getting into childhood wounds, attachment wounds, things from childhood? Probably not. But they got what they wanted and needed, and they implemented things week to week outside of session. They practiced, they built coping skills or general skills they needed to learn in life, and it was a success. For other people, they come in saying, I want to feel differently about this thing from the past, and I also want to do these things differently and behaviorally. And so we start on that path, and then the journey kind of takes a bit of a shift, and they start to realize like, oh, those things are significant, and I have done a lot of healing around that. But now it's about like working on the relationship I have with myself. Like, holy crap, I don't know myself like I thought I did. And when that happens, it's, I just expect you to show up, be courageous, which is you just being there, being brave, being honest with yourself, being really gentle with yourself in terms of looking at your inner dialogue. And there's a lot of adapting that happens if someone's in more like longer term therapy. where the thing they wanted originally transforms into something much different, and towards the end or middle phases of their work. But anyone who's in therapy, like my style is a little bit more direct, and I have no problem like not having specific goals. But I find that clients who like or find it to be successful working with me and us together is the ones who really want to do the work outside of session. So I don't tend to attract the clients that are the type where they just kind of want to sit and vent and then do nothing. And then next week come and sit and vent and do that over and over. Like I point that out very quickly and I ask, like, is this what you're looking for in a therapist? Do you just need an ear, someone to listen to you?
Right.
Then we kind of explore that. But I would say that's not like my typical client.
Yeah. Okay. I think a lot of people need to do the work though. I mean, at the end of the day, they gotta have the awareness to look at themselves and remember what was talked about and what they learned and regulate certain things. What do you think of therapists who can give beautiful advice, but their own life is in shambles? I mean, the same thing with graphic designers who create wonderful designs for their clients, but let's say their own material sucks. Or the house cleaner who does an immaculate job, but her house is a pigsty.
I would say that that's what being human is. Yeah. Honestly. The same, I kind of imagine, a cardiologist who's an expert and saves, millions of people's lives and conducts heart surgery and occasionally maybe smokes, even though they know the impact. And that's the skill that they have in that moment to cope with stress. So I try to approach that with like compassion and not judgment. But I think if I were to see a therapist, hopefully I wouldn't know that their life are in shambles. You certainly shouldn't know that as a client, for sure. But is that person willing to be honest and say, I do have skills and knowledge and tools, and you know what, I don't always use them. And is that something I'm willing to look at over time? Like, oh, maybe at this phase in my life, an example now that I'm a mom of 2 young kids, it's like my relationship to my body, and like I know what to do in terms of exercise and fueling my body with healthy foods, and sometimes I eat mac and cheese and haven't had vegetables in 3 days because of the time of my life, right? But I hope that I can remind myself that, like, hey, there will be a period of time in my life where I can maybe focus more on that, doing the things more regularly that I know are good for me.
What?
I was going to ask you another question.
Go ahead.
How young is the youngest person you've helped? Like, and do kids?
I think 7.
Okay.
I think 7. Yeah. And
do they respond well to therapy? Do they have the awareness to take what you tell them and process it in a way that's positive, and they heal from it?
It's a lot less talking. It's a lot less talking and a lot more playing. And so,
like Monopoly, what are we talking about?
Sure.
Really?
Yeah. Monopoly, Uno, things like that. If a parent brings their child to me and says they're having a really hard time going to their bed at night, and ever since maybe we moved here or whatever, they only want to sleep with me, and so there's some separation anxiety. I don't talk to the kid about separation anxiety. We get on the floor, we play, I build rapport with them so they feel comfortable and safe, and over time I start to slowly integrate themes of like, oh, what's it like for mom or dad not to be in session with you here, right? Like, that's kind of scary. Yeah. Oh, okay. Like, when else do you feel that way? I remember when I was a kid, I would sometimes get nervous if I had to go sleep in my bed in the dark and really wanted my mom there. And so it's very different. Yeah. It's very different.
How do you get yourself out of a funk?
Well, I definitely revisit therapy when I need to, and I have a therapist, and I think it's healthy to take breaks from therapy and practice the things you learned. But if I ever feel like I need to, I do go back and start therapy again. How do I get myself out of a funk? Are you talking like seasonal funk, depression funk, any
depression
funk?
funk?
Depression funk?
Yeah. If you feel yourself going into...
Yeah. I practice the things that I kind of learned back in college that are really helpful. So I have to know like what makes me vulnerable to kind of getting into a funk. You know, something for me I understand are seasonal changes, which is hilarious because I live in California. Like what season? We only have one season.
Right.
But truly, as October, November roll around, I do notice I tend to like slip into a little bit of a funk. So being aware of my vulnerabilities and knowing that like I need to physically move my body more during that time. Whereas in the summer when it's sunny and I'm at the pool with the kids, if I miss a couple days, a week or whatever from not exercising, like that's fine. It's not gonna be a big deal. But I risk falling into that slump more if I don't, exercise more during that time. So I try to know my vulnerabilities. I try to reach out, honestly, because I'm not very good at that. Therapists, I don't know if all therapists are like this, but I've had this kind of feeling of like, if I'm a therapist, nothing can be wrong with me, or I can't ask for help, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I do try to remember that I have loved ones, I have family, I have people in my life who I can turn to, because I never really thought that was okay. I was, classic kind of middle child syndrome where independent, didn't really cause a fuss or rock the boat in the family, needed to take care of everything kind of on my own. I didn't have to, but I just did.
Yeah.
And so that hyper independence led me to like this mindset of like, sometimes it wouldn't even occur to me to ask for help, where it's like, even sometimes now my husband will be like, babe, do you need me to go grocery shopping? Just ask. I'm like, oh yes, I am married. I have a partner. I can rely, I can, but really asking for help, exercising, talking, going to therapy if I need. At times in my life, I've needed to rely on medications, SSRIs or antidepressants, sleep. Sleep, I really have to prioritize sleep. I've always needed sleep.
Right.
But focusing on my health, my physical health, really helps attend to some of the emotional stuff, honestly. There's such a big link between our body and our mind.
Yeah. So if you were to give the audience 3 tips to recognize that they're going into a funk, and how to grab themselves and pull themselves out, what would those top 3 be? Physical health would be one of them.
Move your body. Move your body. Talk to someone, anyone, so that you need to get outside your head and kind of just have a sounding board. It doesn't have to be a therapist, honestly. But share it with someone. Just like when we're in our head, we start thinking things that aren't true.
If you journal, you write it down.
For some people, journaling's helpful. For others, it exacerbates. They kind of get into a rabbit hole. So I think it really depends on the person. And to ask themselves, excuse me, in the past, when they've gotten out of a funk, or they've started to get into a funk and were able to kind of recover, what helped? This might sound overly simplistic or a little like Mel Robbins-y, which I love Mel Robbins, but getting outside of ourself and doing something for someone else can be very helpful. Now, if you're extremely depressed and can't get out of bed, that may not be realistic, but doing something so simple, smiling at someone at the post office, even though they're literally taking 25 minutes to sell you 5 stamps, like an act of kindness to someone can really help.
Now, when I got a divorce 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago,
3.75.
3.75. I moved into this house, which me and her used to live in. This was one of our properties, 2 properties. And I moved here with no furniture, nothing, and I just slept by those stairs you saw, right? And I talked to, let's say, my brother. And yes, he loves me. He's overprotective. He wants me to live the best life. And my mom and my dad. And I realized the more people I talk to, my situation gets worse. Maybe I'm one of those weird people. I don't know.
No, you're not.
My brother, for example, even if I say, hey, for example, there's a growth here, he's like, oh my God, let's go check you out. What if you have cancer? What if you're dying? Which kind of makes things worse in my head.
Yeah.
Right? So when I was divorced, first week, I didn't tell anyone, not even my brother. And when I told him, he's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? With the kids, oh my God, you got to fight for the kids. And I came into the divorce with an agreement with my ex-wife that we're going to be friends. We're going to be great co-parents. We're going to do everything possible for the kids to live a wonderful life. And so when he started panicking, and then my mom, oh my God, what are we going to do? Let's, lawyer up. She didn't say that, but.
Like, you got a smart mama. Just kidding.
But so when I talked about my feelings of, depression, anxiety, being lost, they I know they're coming from a loving place.
Yes.
But I told myself, I got to zip it up in front of them because they just make things worse. Because they start pushing you into they have traumas, they have generational crap going on. And they push you into those narratives that, oh, now you got to do this, you can't talk to her anymore, you got to do it. How do you, if you were me 3.5 years ago, because the way I pulled myself out was I had to read a lot, I had to listen to podcasts, I had to get inspired, like go walk around the block at 2 o'clock in the morning, just like say, yes, I'm good. That was my therapy. Yes, of course, I saw a therapist as well, but how do you kind of balance what you need to do in terms of talking to someone who's going to listen and help you versus listening to someone who's going to exacerbate those issues further?
Yeah. You guys are so good with these questions. I'm so impressed. I love it. Honestly, that's important because what happened is you were having all these feelings and reactions, right? Internally, emotions. And how it got communicated was everyone who loves you and cares about you, they became focused on the quote unquote problem, the incident of divorce, right? And the focus become less about your inner experience emotionally and more about all like lawyers and logistics and things like that. Right. If we have people in our lives who we know love us, but are highly opinionated, strong, outspoken, unconditionally loving, of course, they may be the people that maybe we could talk to, but not necessarily about the situation. If you want to talk to those people, saying things like, I'm going through some changes, but I'm struggling with self-doubt, kind of keeping it centered on you and not the actual experience of what's happening can be a good one. But you can also give yourself permission to not always, you could share with someone who's more objective. Who maybe you don't know as well. Yeah. Or maybe you've like only met a couple times at a party and you somehow heard like, oh, this person recently got divorced. I'd be happy to give you their number. Like sometimes talking to someone who's not quite as close. Sure. Just to be like, hey man, this is what I'm going through. Like, what was it like for you? I know I just met you 2 or 3 times at our son's birthday, but sometimes that can be helpful. Yeah. And you're right. For other people, talking too much to talking to too many people gets them farther and away from their truth, their selves. Like then they go into it thinking this, I thought I made the best decision. It felt so right to me. Now, oh my God, after talking to my mom, my dad, my brother, this is a disaster. Now I what have I done? I've blown up my life. And so I think sometimes that can get really cloudy. Yeah. And sometimes we do need a break from that and just to journal for some people. Yeah. Journaling is good. But kind of sit with that and be like, wait a second, is talking to these people getting me away from how I originally felt? And now I'm doubting myself? That can be an indicator like I'm sharing too much. Yeah. I'm getting farther away from my truth. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So have we all here been to therapy?
I've never been.
Okay.
Yeah, never been.
Okay.
And I was going to say this when you were talking about your parent generation. When he got a divorce, my dad asked me, like, where's Ardavan today? I'm like, oh, he went to therapy. And he's like, well, he's not crazy. For the longest time, I thought I was perfect. And my mom will agree with that. Right. And my wife should too.
Were you the golden child?
What's a golden child?
The golden child is the one that is like perfect in their parents' eyes, like the favored one.
I mean, they see me as the person who goes against the grain.
Yeah, I agree with them more just because I don't want to rock the boat. So even though, like, I know that's wrong, 100%. But like, if my dad says something, he challenges my dad. I think to myself, he's 83 years old. Okay, yeah, you're right, Dad. But I've never gone. But I do see the importance of it. and he's encouraged me to go because I'm not perfect. And I'm sure there are many things, like parent pleasing part of me needs to be addressed too. That in itself, me, agreeing with my dad, oh yeah, you're right. So yeah, no, I've never gone, but I want to.
You do?
For sure.
What do you think's
For sure.
prevented you? Like, have you you
Question.
ever had an experience in your life where like, I maybe could or should, but don't want to?
Social anxiety is one.
That has prevented you from going?
No. I'm just saying things in my mind.
That you could.
The reason I don't go is from the time I realized I need to, I felt I'm more so like the breadwinner. And like I know my brother was going through a tough time and he wasn't present at work. So all of my time was devoted to running the business, making sure I'm up till 2 a.m, dealing with everything. And then now, fortunately, he's in not a much better place. Mm-hmm. So I feel like now is the time to do it. Because I do have things in the back of my mind that I want to address. Mm-hmm. I always think about, losing my parents, losing my twin brother. Mm-hmm. And that sometimes becomes one of those things that I stay up like till 5 a.m. I'm like praying, God, please, let an asteroid take us out so we both go together.
We all go together.
Like that's kind of stuff I need to deal with. And I know I keep like pushing it down the road, but it's something that I need to work on so that I can enjoy life, my present versus what could happen.
I got 3 words for you.
Yes.
Therapist near me. That's all you get.
Oh, I thought you were going to say tequila, vodka.
Just put therapist near me and just go, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it would be so cool to like as a therapist, if I ever had a client come in and say, I'm here, I have no idea what I'm looking for. I've never done therapy.
Yeah.
Hi.
Well,
I would be like, wow, that's awesome. There's a level of curiosity with probably like very low expectation, but they're curious and they're interested. Like,
but I think
fascinating.
the first step has to be, I'm just looking at you, but I'm talking to everyone. Is that you have to be real. You can't go in there trying to protect this image that you have of yourself, that you're not, vulnerable, that you're this and that. You have to be 100% real.
But we do. We do go into therapy like that because those are our defenses.
Yeah,
sure.
And our defenses are there to protect us. Mm-hmm. And through the therapy, with a good therapist, you'll be able to learn, oh, there's that part of me that doesn't like to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's scared to put my guard down. That's scared to not be 100% honest with myself. It's a beautiful thing when I see clients come in with a lot of these defenses and they're very protective. It's their ego, their psyche. Like we all have an ego, not like, I don't mean egotistical. I just mean that part of our brain that wants to protect us from seeing these other parts of us that we don't always like. Mm-hmm. That's part of the process.
Yeah.
So it's what I guess my whole point is, it's hard to really know. Like you don't have to have that skill when you go in to be like, be honest with real, authentic.
Yeah.
But it's okay if over the course of the time you realize like, oh, I'm more comfortable. I'm letting my guard down. I'm talking about things now I wasn't the first couple months.
Yeah.
That's the beauty. That's the growth.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to miss out on that.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Amanda, you have
so well said.
you've
I'm
had
just
this
sitting
thing-
here in awe, like,
Aw. I love these conversations so much. They're so like, I feel like it gives me so much energy to have more than, in therapy when I'm with a client, it's so different, but I love this, like the energy we have with one another. And it just, I love it.
Yes, it's exhilarating.
It is.
Being on the same page. I'm going to shift slightly this way. Now, you might break my heart right now, Shayla.
Okay.
But that's okay. I have good heart recovery mechanisms in place.
Okay.
But this question has been on my mind, and I've been wanting to ask someone who knows what's up.
Well, I'm right here.
Talking to Chat GPT as an exercise in mindfulness, venting, self-reflection, not to replace a therapist, but potentially in the gap between visits, or if someone's not actively seeing a therapist at the time. What are your thoughts?
My body constricts when I hear that question a little bit. like using ChatGPT as opposed to picking up a book, Googling something, just in general?
I think the way folks use journaling,
Mm-hmm.
but as a live reflector.
Mm-hmm.
So like journaling into the app,
Mm-hmm.
for instance.
My initial response is it can be efficient in terms of spewing out data in concrete, like coping skills. You know, if you're like, I'm anxious today, what are 3 things I could do, right? It'll give you 3 things you could do that are likely 3 things a therapist has or would tell you. I think it's very limiting, though, in that it's not accessing this interpersonal piece that's really important for growth and mental well-being. It's just data. It's, you know, I think it's okay. Like, it's great that technology has evolved and we have that. You know, if someone doesn't have 3 hours to read a book, but what about, they used to be in high school, like Cliff Notes? Great. But at the end of the day, if I don't do the book report and I don't go through that writing process, what did I take from that? So I think it has its benefits, but it can be very, very limiting.
Yeah.
Like, I would certainly not, I would never want someone to use it alone. Like, it maybe in addition to all these other things, but the human aspect's really important.
Yeah.
Like, learning, it depends, you know, what are you asking ChatGPT for, you know, but learning from others, seeing people, watching their growth and their failures and learning that about yourself, like all that, none of that's involved in that. And when we use ChatGPT.
Yeah, I know that ChatGPT can build rapport and it can keep track of patterns and it can do all this reflecting. I've heard so many conversations about how it can be just a one-sided mirror that simply tells you what you want to hear or perpetuates your own echo chamber of beliefs and ideas. So that is not always helpful. That's like going to your friend who's always like, you're right, no matter what you say. But on the other hand, I wonder about barriers to entry when it comes to therapy. And I wonder about folks who have stigmas or who feel like they're perfect. And I don't think you genuinely feel like you're perfect, even though you are, Kevin.
I am, thank you.
Yeah. But there are these barriers to entry that exist with humanity, with the human aspect.
That's true.
You understand how valuable that
That's
is
true.
because when you're looking at a person, you're looking at their body language, their energy, their micro expressions, things that a robot could never do. So you understand that what you're doing is technology far beyond what ChatGPT can do. But what I'm thinking is for those who are trying to avoid exactly that, which is being seen by another human, could it be valuable as the lowest barrier to entry for them to go into this technology and just start practicing vulnerability? Like, hey, today I had a bad day. I had an argument with my mom. I feel horrible because of it. What do you say? And if you put this prompt into ChatGPT, you can actually get some kind of in-depth reflection. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened. What precipitated it? You could potentially have a conversation with a robot. So my question becomes, is it valuable to just sideline this sort of technology that I believe is just going to continue advancing at faster and faster rates than we can even track within the next 5 years? Or are there ways to bring it into the therapeutic experience and start advocating for its use as a tool alongside the experience?
Yeah, that's a really that's a great perspective. You know, when you talk about like barriers to entry, I initially go to like, you know, cost, time, socioeconomic status, people who rural areas don't have a therapist. You know, I would always recommend places where they do have places where they have free therapy, or you can go to like universities and they're being supervised, they're in training, but they do have free therapy.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the comment about, you know, they don't want to be seen, and then they're asking the ChatGPT this thing, I don't think that requires any vulnerability. I don't think there's anything vulnerable about necessarily asking a computer or telling the computer about your day.
Right.
What's really vulnerable is, I think what would be even more vulnerable is sitting with yourself in silence and meditation for 10 or 15 minutes with all the questions that you want to ask ChatGPT. I think that would be far more valuable and vulnerable of an experience. But I definitely think it's not going anywhere. And I know there are so many therapists who are really threatened by it and scared of it. And I think my general philosophy on things that scare us and our initial reaction is fear is like, there's ignorance. We don't really know. We're scared of what we don't know, right? The more we educate ourselves and understand and figure out ways, like, how can we integrate this into our practice as therapists? I know lots of therapists who use it to help with their notes, and it's amazingly efficient, which is fantastic. In terms of the emotional aspect or the mental health aspect, I'm not sure how helpful it is in that way.
Yeah,
because
I also think, sorry, I think from a privacy standpoint, also we can run into some issues because I was listening to this podcast. There you go. We were talking about. They were talking about the privacy aspect of ChatGPT, and when you use it as a therapist, everything you're telling it is being recorded somewhere, and it's being held to be used against you in a court of law one day, even. So let's say you're talking about your manifesto, you want to go kill 100 people. How can you stop yourself from killing those kids at that school, God forbid?
Wow.
It will record that. And when the time comes...
So would a therapist, for the record.
Well, I mean...
Mandatory reporting.
Okay, maybe not that extreme. Maybe not that extreme.
I know you like moderation. I don't know where you pulled that extreme example from.
Well, I'm trying to come to the center. But that would be another aspect of it that I would fear talking to a machine about my issues, the same way I'm afraid of Siri listening to me all the time. You know?
Are you?
I mean, I know it happens. If I start talking about, cat food, the next thing I see on YouTube, hey, cat food, fancy feast. I'm like, I don't even have a cat, right? So what's going to happen if I start talking about, let's say, suicidal thoughts or whatever into ChatGPT, and the next thing I know, a bunch of people show up at my door, hey, we're going to arrest you.
But potentially the same technology that records you through your phone could be doing the same. I completely understand that concern. But I feel like with the progression of tech, including AI, just like you have 1,000 pages of terms and conditions before you put any app on your phone and we just skip right past that, I think people will just learn to accept those risks without giving them too much thought. That's just my feeling watching society. But I think it's valid.
Yeah,
I could see that. I think one of the things that I'm coming up for me in terms of ChatGPT, it's like, let's say there's a teenager who all of a sudden is like really depressed and wanting to self-harm, or little, teenage girls who wanted to cut or whatever, and they're on ChatGPT expressing this. One of the benefits, I think, is that they'll immediately get, resources back and like, call this number, check out this website, text this, we're here for you.
Sure, yeah.
That in terms of that, I think it could help bridge the gap a little bit. But that's more of like another kind of extreme scenario. But I'm just thinking of like, someone who's having kind of a crisis, maybe in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And is saying something, reaching out in some way for help.
Yeah.
I think there are innumerable applications for it. That's just the beginning. And I'm really curious to see where it goes. So we'll keep in touch about that, because I'm sure it's going to continue to influence therapy. I see it in social media already. Like
absolutely.
The memes of people like talking to ChatGPT. I'm a huge fan of AI. So myself, I like to play with the prompts, see what it's capable of, see what the limits are.
Do you have the membership where...
I do.
Like my understanding is if you upgrade to the membership, you tell it about yourself, and then every time you ask a question, it's more and more personalized.
It can do that, yeah.
Okay. Have you had experience with playing around with some like therapy type questions?
Oh, 100%.
And what's been your experience?
So my interest in AI is basically creating a duplicate of myself, trying to see like, can we offload this intelligence into the cloud? Because I feel like that's the future. That's a sidebar for another conversation. But what I've done is ask it therapy-like prompts, use it for pseudo-journaling, use it for creativity, use it for business work.
Can you give me an example of like a pseudo-like therapy prompt?
And let me tell you one more thing before we go into that, which is also teaching it like spiritual practices. So I've created this algorithm within ChatGPT that can like read tarot or do oracle work. And that's where I initially started to realize that the potential for the app far exceeds it's not like Google. It's going to go far beyond that. In terms of therapy, so I was in therapy for 2 years. I think I was 24, 25, just coming out of an engagement that got broken off. So not a divorce, but just an engagement. But at that point, I was like, I need help. So I loved the therapy journey. I thought it was incredible. And what I took from that was one of my barriers to entry with it was the accessibility of having the therapist not available for my every thought. So I started using ChatGPT as, what if I just had a therapist right here, right now, and I could ask them this question? So conflict resolution was one of my favorite first applications. I'd say, okay, I just had this conflict with a friend or family member. Here was my side. Here was their side. Can you illuminate the blind spot to me in my thinking and maybe pick out what pattern I keep repeating that's showing here? And it blew me away with an essay length response that was like, okay, based on this, based on that, and have you considered? I was also throw in like 5 to 10 questions that I could ask myself to reflect on why this has happened a second time. And little by little, I could just build on that accessibility. So maybe a week later, I had a great conversation with this person. Here's what I did differently. How does that like compare to what I did initially? Oh, I can see you've shifted from this to this. You've opened your mind to this perspective. Good job. Next time, consider this as well. So building on that here and there started to create this accessibility factor where if I want to remove a blind spot in myself, I find it very easy and functional to do it with this app.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. That's kind of badass. I haven't done that. That sounds very, very cool. Someone like you,
Thanks.
I think you're a great example of someone who can use it in that way. Like you're even talking about like the desire to look at your blind spots, right? Now, someone who's not in that same place or maybe doesn't have that same level of awareness and puts that in, and maybe it gives them this response that like, you got really defensive. What you said was inappropriate. I could see why your mom is upset. They may take that and now all of a sudden go into this like spiral of shame and guilt and remorse. And then not like my concern is if they don't have the capacity or the experience of knowing how to deal with those emotions that could come up.
Yes.
That's where I think it could be limiting. But what you just described is pretty cool. I'm going to definitely try that. Like, in terms of giving like conflict resolution, it's like, that's amazing. But I think you're also talking about a certain type of like entry level of like self-awareness for someone to even ask something like that and be willing and open to be receptive to the information.
100%.
Like that's empowering for you. For someone else, that can be completely like devastating or, destabilizing.
Right.
That's such a good point. And if I could just build on that one more, and then I'll let you speak. I'm just having so much fun. I don't want this to end.
Me too.
Mirrors. Okay. So ChatGPT and technology. Have you watched the show Black Mirror by any chance?
I've seen a couple episodes. My husband loves it.
Okay.
I loved it. I didn't.
Okay.
I saw a couple. I don't really know exactly what it's about.
Understandable. I'll just give you the cliff notes, which is the concept that the black mirror represents the screen on your television and your cell phone when it's powered down.
Okay.
So it's a mirror, but it will reflect you, and potentially the black mirror will reflect the darkest parts of humanity, right? The shadow aspect, if you will, spiritual lingo. So if we have technology that reflects our shadows and essentially mirrors back to us without filters that which we are, a person like me with, I won't flatter myself, but let's say a modicum of self-awareness could be benefited by using ChatGPT as a therapist. But because there's no filter and because there's no safeguard, another person without self-awareness might be devastated by what they find. I think therapy, and where it shines so uniquely and will never be replaced for that reason, is because a therapist is not a black mirror. A therapist has a history, an education, and a filter that is optimized to guide an individual toward their inevitable expansion, or say, you know what, we can't work together. We're not, we don't have, it's not going to happen, which I'd love to know if you've ever had to do that with anyone before. So I think therapists will always be unique because they are not just human, but they have this sort of programming to mirror back what you need to see instead of what you want to see.
And you're saying ChatGPT is more the mirror that reflects back what you need to see?
What you want to see.
What you want to see.
I think all technology
Really?
would give you what you want, probably more so than what you need.
Yeah.
But a therapist, as a living human being, gives you what you need.
Yeah.
That's why you visit them.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah, I think you're kind of speaking to the concept in psychology. With therapy, we call it the blank slate therapist. You know, originally you were supposed to be, this blank slate, and it's completely 100% objective. And I don't a lot of people don't really prescribe to that anymore because we just understand that you can't, like, you come in with your own background, like you're not a blank slate. I'm sorry, you know. You could try your best to be extremely objective and professionally objective. That's one thing, but we're not without bias and
it couldn't be
blind spots and you know, things like that. So that's really interesting. That's very, very interesting. I want to check out that show now.
Oh, go for it.
I do. Yeah.
As somebody that's never been to a person like you, I tried the ChatGPT thing, and to me it was almost comical because in the voice that I always imitate ChatGPT to be, I heard the same things, the same cliff notes that anybody could give you, without the warmth, the understanding of a human being. So that to me was comical. It was like, okay, good. It's good to verify what I already knew, like high-level headlines. But somebody like you can dig deeper. For example, you'll know I have a twin brother and what a relationship between siblings is like and my fear of losing him. So you can, to her point, you will tell me what I need to know, not I want to know. Like maybe ChatGPT says, oh, don't worry, you know, your brother will live just like you for another 1,000,000 years. And that makes me like, oh, thank God ChatGPT said that. But you can be real and say, you know what, something horrible can happen. Yes, tomorrow, one of you could perish. But this is how you would deal with that. And you would put things in perspective that I would understand and I would value. So I think while ChatGPT is great and everything, as somebody that's never been, that would not be my point of entry, even though I want it to be. I'd much rather sit down with a real human being and we can talk.
Yeah. That's so interesting because you both have mentioned that now. Because I think I have the perception that if I'm going to ask ChatGPT something, it's going to give me objective data versus, like, let's say, for example, like, I don't know what anxiety is, but I am struggling with like heart palpitations and sweaty palms. And I go to my mom or a friend and they're like, oh, you're just stressed out. Stop drinking so much coffee. And then I go to someone else and they're like, oh, you just don't exercise enough. That's not anxiety or whatever. I've always thought of like, oh, if you ask ChatGPT that, it's going to be like, this is called panic disorder. This is called generalized anxiety disorder. Have you ruled out thyroid symptoms? Blah, 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 blah. So I think of it as telling you objective things that maybe you don't want to hear. Do you know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean.
Well, to a point,
that's
yes.
how I understood. I thought versus it telling you what you wanted to.
I do
want
understand
to
what
hear.
you're saying. I understand what you're saying. But a few of my clients, I work with a bunch of chiropractors and dentists, and I told them, let's make a logo for you. Like, start with a nice brand, and then we'll build up everything else. They said, oh, no, I just did a ChatGPT, it created a logo for me. I'm like, great. So I look at the logo, and they said, well, I'm not too happy with it, but it will do. And I think the problem with that is it doesn't have the knowledge that I would have if I was talking to him prior to designing a logo for him. I would see, okay, who is your audience? What do you like? How did you grow up? What's your personality like? And put those together and create a logo that he would be very happy with and he would attract the audience that he would like. But just by going to ChatGPT saying, make me a logo, I'm a fun-loving person, dentist, it gives you something that has no history, no emotion. And in some instances, it may work, but for the majority of people who come to me and they say, we already have a logo, and either some guy in a sweatshop in India created it for me for $5, or ChatGPT created it for free, it doesn't have the same impact.
Yeah.
So going to a ChatGPT, unless you are aware enough like you are, that you understand and can look at it and self-reflect and see, okay, which one of these things can help me? What if some schmuck, not you.
Thank you.
What if some schmuck goes there and says, I'm afraid of losing my brother. What the heck should I do? Well, get a dog. Like, oh, well, that doesn't really speak to me. Right? Yeah. So it has to be, he has to sit down with someone and say, listen, I was in a codependency kind of a relationship with me and my mom. We went through a war together, and this is why I'm afraid of losing him one day. Then their advice would be probably more, it's still going to be
personalized,
objective, but personalized, objective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the way the input is determines the output.
Yeah. Like it seems like you
There's
have to
a better way
train
to say
it.
that, I know.
You have to really spend time training it.
Exactly. Because essentially you're training a robot, and it's all working on pattern recognition.
Yes.
which I actually think is fundamental human interaction, is just pattern recognition too. That's just an opinion straight out of my
Mouth.
mouth. But it's, what you're doing is basically showing it, here are all my patterns, and it becomes strangely both more objective and more subjective the more you do that, because it knows how to feed your desires, what you're looking to get in terms of soft skills. So maybe like warm words and affirmations. It reads your little, like if you call it bestie, it'll call you bestie. If you call it baby, it'll call you baby. Don't ask how I know. And then if you're feeding it the more objective, calculated, like I just want the facts, it'll reflect that back to you. It's just a big old mirror is what it is.
It's so fascinating. Tell me how we're doing on time, but you guys have to read this book. It's called Culpability.
Okay.
I'm not quite finished with it, but the whole concept is this family is on, like they're driving. The son is like 16, 17, 18, something like that, under 18. And they have an AI car. And the son, they all get in an accident and they kill the people in the other car. And they find out the kid, the AI was moving, the AI was in charge of the car, even though the son was in the driver's seat. The dad was in the passenger seat doing work on his laptop. And it becomes this whole thing about who's responsible for the accident. Was it the car that didn't catch the person, that they didn't swerve soon enough? Was it the son because he was texting, even though there's like this part of the car that's supposed to tell you how aware you are and how much you're paying attention and alert you if you're not alert enough or aware enough? Or is it the father who's responsible for the minor and not paying attention? And it's so fascinating, and it goes really into depth. The wife in the story, in the mom, she's like a PhD professor of like ethics in AI. And it goes down this whole really amazing
I love this
story.
culpability.
And at the end, I'm just going to guess, Elon Musk is going to be responsible.
It's very interesting. It's
that's
very
great.
interesting.
I love that. Culpability.
So,
I'll look it up.
culpability. It's all about like AI and ethics, and
So, but it's fiction,
It is.
technically. But
It
based on
is.
all these,
very like era relevant.
Very,
very current.
very timely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can wrap up. We got about 5 minutes to bring us home. So any closing thoughts?
I think like this experience, like just the hour and 12 minutes is like what I'm taking away. That experience. Like I think initially I'm thinking on a business level, but I'm leaving here with the experience of sitting with you guys, which is just so much more deep than a marketing
So
opportunity.
glad.
I love it.
I'm so glad. Yeah, best of both worlds.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thanks for
being
coming.
here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Triple Shot Mindset.